bit of progress that we've been making. So I've had frame, all sorts of different parts and components powder coated. Just recently picked all that up. Everything is together now, ready to go back on the bike. All I have at the moment are a bag of bits. Let me show you what we've got. So starting over here, we've got the frame, freshly powder coated. Company near me in York. I never used them before. Seem to have done a really cracking job. We went for a satin finish rather than a gloss. There's the seats, that's as is. Down here we have the forks. Now the forks, I don't know if you can see, I never rebuilt, well, never had them re-chromed in the first place, but they're going to need it, I would imagine. So the forks are going to need a full rebuild again. Carbs all ready to go, brake all ready to go, and then these are all the parts that need to go back together. So as I've mentioned previously, the engine had a full crank up rebuild, so everything in there is perfect. All I need to do is recheck the valve clearances, polish up the side covers, and she's ready to go. Inside of that, I'm putting an electronic ignition, which I bought from Common Motor in America. So that's all over here, ready to go in. Also going to redo the whole wiring loom, because some connections were a little bit dodgy and I want it working perfectly. So here are all the parts. We've got the swing arm, powder coated, all these other powder coated parts down here on the floor, center stand, pegs, triple tree, all that kit and caboodle all done. Tyres are ready to go back on. So yeah, literally it's a case of just bolting all these things back together and getting on with it. So the aim of today is I want to get all the bushings back in the swing arm and get it back on the frame. So what I've got is I've got 2 new bushings to go in here, which is where the suspension arms bolt to. So 2 of those, and then the swing arm bushings themselves. Now, so these are the original parts down here that came out the back a little while ago. So these are the actual bushings. Now, as you can see, there's no shoulder on these. You have to be careful how far you insert them in. They're quite difficult to do. As well as that, you've got these felt washers, which are fairly junk now. You've got these, I'm assuming, nylon, hard plastic washers that go in as well as the dust caps. This goes inside, so this is at a cleanup, and then you've got the bolt pin. So all that goes inside here. Now what I've done is I've found some brass replacements for these, which I'll show you in a minute. They're currently in the freezer. These do have a shoulder on, so that means I can do away with these parts. I can do away with the felt washers, and I can do away with those original bushings. So all that I should be left with is 33 parts here and those 2 parts there. So they're a press fit inside here, as are the bushings that used to live in here. So they're currently in the freezer at the moment, and I'll bring you along as I try and press them in. So here are the bushings that go at the back. Okay, there's the part number. Just came from David Silver's Spares, genuine OEM part. Okay, so they look like this. So the steel on the outside, steel in the middle, and a rubber shroud in the middle, in between. Now I have had these in the freezer overnight just to make them a little bit colder and shrink them a smidge so that they will fit into the hole here in the swing arm. Now I'm going to use my little vise here. I'm going to press them in. Okay. And there you can see we've got one in this side and one in that side. Job done. Now, the ones that go in here, I'm not going to be able to press it in with the vise. I'm going to have to come up with a different solution for that. I shall bring you back when I've got one. So these are the little brass bushings. You can see that there's a nice shoulder around the edge. So as you can see here, this one that's almost in. Proving extremely difficult to get it in, but we'll get there. So it just presses in at this side, and the shoulder butts up there, and everything's fine. So what I have been doing is I put this one in by itself, and I was using the rear axle through here with a bolt on the end to try and press it in. It's now got too far and I've got nothing else to space it out. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pop this one in, repeat the same process, stick him in there and try and pull them in together using the ratchet. Okay, well they're in. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that was not an easy job. So I started off with the axle, one went in, the other one got stuck halfway. You can see me there with the with the ratchet trying to get it through. Now what I ended up doing is I ended up wanting to get some all thread. So this is just M10 all thread through there, the old bushings of spacers, and in the end I ended up using the hammer wrench to drive them in. Now they've gone in. Now with these being brass, they're quite soft, so any imperfections inside the tube translate into the brass as you press it in. So I'm at a point where the spindle tube will just fit in, but not quite. So I just need to open up the inside of one of these bushings a little bit. So to do that, ideally you could do with a brake cylinder hone or something like that at the end of a drill. I don't have one, so I'm going to have a go with the Dremel just to open that up. Okay, there we go. So in it slides now. I kind of think you want that to be quite tight anyway. So before this goes in, we grease all this up. Similarly with the spindle, we'll grease all this up as well. Now what this has, got a grease nipple on that side for a grease gun. So once it's all together and the bike's together, we shall do that at the end. That's basically how that slides in. So fit that up to the bike. Right, okay. So he slides in here. mustn't forget original dust caps. They still slide over those two breast pieces. Okay, now, so pivot bolt's going to go through the frame just here, through the swing arm, out the other side, and we have the nut that goes on the end. Right, so bit of a mission in the end. Anyway, it's all on. So what I had to do ultimately was bronze bushings. They're not quite as pushing and use as you'd think. I've had to take off from each side with a metal file there, about 1 millimeter from each of the bushings on the bronze side, and I had to took the grinder to the inside of the frame just to create a bit more space. Basically they're wider than the dust caps and thrust washers that you have originally, so if you're going to do that, bear that in mind. There's not as much space in there. The manufacturer states that the swinging arm should be stiff or stiffer than usual. When I took this off, you know, you've got to watch your toes because it flies down and hits the floor. So anyway, as you saw there, you know, you can move it up and down quite freely like this. I'll probably pop a bit more grease in there ultimately. But yeah, so if you're going to fit them, make sure that you check the clearances. I had to test fit them a few times, tried the torque and see what we got. I ended up, so the manual says between 51 and 65 foot-pounds of torque. I got in 50, so there's 50 foot-pounds of torque in the self-locking nut on the other side, so I just need to keep an eye on that and watch out for it. Okay, so I've got the springs in there just to hold that still, as I say, because it's a little bit tighter, it's not flopping up and down like it was before, but all in all, progress. So thanks for watching. Please drop me a like, leave me a comment, or consider subscribing. I'll catch you next time. Hopefully we'll get the back wheel in. Bye for now.